And good evening, everyone on Facebook Live. I'm meteorologist Angela Buckman. We are breaking into some of our coverage on the Olympic trials on Channel 13, but we also want to make sure that you are caught up on social media as well, just in case you're out and about this evening. We do have one storm that we're tracking. Tornado warning has been issued for this area north of Rossville, and some of the latest information coming from the National Weather Service is confirming this. A tornado observed 7 miles southeast of Delphi, or 15 miles north of Frankfort, moving northeast at 25. What this indicates is the National Weather Service actually has a spotter or somebody in public service that is relaying information now that we actually do have a tornado confirmed in this area. This is going to be just to the north of Rossville. The tornado warning was issued, about 10 minutes or so ago, and it goes until 9 o'clock this evening. I'm going to give you a couple of the towns that were in the path, and this tornado warning was issued for southern Carroll County in the northern part of our viewing area. And what we've got on the screen now are the velocities, and there definitely was some rotation, which is the reason the National Weather Service issued this tornado warning, and that was radar indicated. But now they're getting some confirmation that somebody has spotted, in fact, a tornado in this area. And I'm going to circle where we're watching, and that's going to be this area here. And if you saw some of our coverage when we just broke in on Channel 13, it's basically the western side of this storm that's now northeast of Rossville and south of Flora. So anywhere from Flora to Carrollton to Deer Creek, and if we want to go out a couple of towns, if this in fact would stay on the ground or the storm would continue to produce a tornado, Galveston may eventually be in the path. So we want you to stay with us and stay weather aware. This area of rotation is what we're tracking. We did put a storm track on this, and again, not necessarily tracking the leading edge of the rain or the gusty winds with this, but kind of the leading edge of where we think this rotation is developing, and it is nearing Flora now. As we go out 25 miles per hour, that puts it a couple minutes away from Flora. So we encourage you, if you live in this area, southern sections of Carroll County, you are now under a tornado warning until 9 p.m. Flora and then Carrollton in about 18 minutes. So I wouldn't waste any time if you live in this area, the southern part of Carroll County. So we're just north of Frankfort, north of Clinton County, across the county line where we're tracking this storm. What you're used to seeing, those were the velocities. This basically shows where we have the center of this storm. Not a lot of lightning with it, but there's just enough spin in the atmosphere and a lot of instability that it didn't take much to get this thunderstorm to produce rotation, which is what the National Weather Service saw when they issued the initial tornado warning, and then getting reports now that it was confirmed. I'm going to go back to the National Weather Service chat just because that's where they kind of pass along some of the latest information. Looks like that was reported originally near Dayton. So we were tracking this storm near Lafayette. So if you lived in Tippecanoe County, you might not be surprised that there has now been a warning on this. When I was keeping a close eye on this storm in Tippecanoe County because it kind of developed out of nowhere, and those are the ones you always have to watch closely. And there was a little bit of rotation with it. Didn't look to be significant, but we're now getting reports from emergency manager in Tippecanoe County at about 8:15 so that would put it about a half hour ago when it was in Tippecanoe County that there was rotation and possibly a tornado. So the National Weather Service, then keeping a close eye on this, continued to track it now into southern Carroll County, which is where we have the tornado warning. That tornado warning goes until 9 o'clock this evening. Originated, again, just in eastern Tippecanoe. This is between Delphi and Rossville. If this storm is rotating, that rotation is now just south of Flora and approaching Carrollton. And actually, let me go ahead and give you a couple of, we'll almost go street level on this and pick up, just in case you're familiar with this area. Again, the tornado warning goes until 9 p.m. If we still have this confirmed or something on the ground, it is going to be on the western side of this cell, and I'm going to highlight that for you. So it's going to be this area here, say from Bringhurst to Adams Mill to Lexington, west of Burlington, but getting pretty close. So Burlington, Carrollton, you also need to be in the safest part of your home, and that's going to be away from windows and doors as you are under a tornado warning, and that's just street level. Let's clear this, because I want to point out the fact that this really is the only cell that we're tracking right now. And as I mentioned, as I started to kind of watch it in Tippecanoe County, you're always concerned, at least most of us are always really concerned with cells that kind of develop ahead of the line or on their own. Oftentimes then the environment is in play for that storm, especially in the environment we have in place now for that storm to go ahead and rotate, and it looks like that's what the National Weather Service is seeing with this. Let's see here. See if I have anybody watching. Frankfort, dark. So obviously Frankfort, let's go back in, because again, this is the only storm. If you're joining us and you are in Fishers, you're in Franklin, you're in Bloomington, you're in Muncie, nothing severe for you. We are obviously, though, really concerned with this storm that has prompted the tornado warning, and it is north of Frankfort. So Frankfort there on the bottom of your screen. So yes, it probably was dark in Frankfort. Yes, very beautiful, I'm sure, in Mitchell, in the southern part of our viewing area. But we want to make sure that everybody is aware of this storm that has triggered the tornado warning. That tornado warning, we've got another 12 minutes on it or so. And let's go ahead and check velocities while we're on this close-up view. Okay, so if you've ever watched our severe coverage, we're always concerned when we get red and green close together. And with this latest radar scan with live Doppler 13 radar, there is a significant what we call couplet when we see red and green close together. And Nick, maybe we continue to stream on Facebook, but we at some point get another update on Channel 13 just because of the change that we've had from the Weather Service, the update, the fact that this is confirmed, people spotting something on the ground here, and because of what we're seeing with velocity. So if you can, in my ear, just let me know. I am ready whenever you are, so you just give me the heads up, and we just want to make sure that we do another couple of minutes on Channel 13 just to make sure those folks that are watching the Olympic trials and not maybe have their phones with them or watching, you know, simultaneously on Facebook Live, that they know that this is a situation that they need to take seriously. And we are in the southern sections of Carroll County, so we're south of Delphi, and again, concerned with this storm that is south of Flora, Carrollton, Burlington. Significant rotation now showing up with this storm. Let me go back to the chat and see if we have anything additional coming in. Other than at 8:34, confirmed tornado southeast of Delphi. So you can see this has now made its way close to Flora. If you live in southern Carroll County, again, you need to be in the safest part of your home. And Nick, just let me know if I need to stop talking for a minute, and then we'll move on. Okay, we're going to wait for the commercial break to be over, and then if you are in Carroll County and you have any information on this that you can pass along, we always appreciate that. And I'm going to check Twitter while we're here too. Just oftentimes our great viewers will let us know. Okay. So Brandon on Twitter letting me know that his parents are in Flora and they are in the basements, keeping him updated. So that was from Twitter. And Brandon, thank you very much. I'm sure he's not watching both, but I'm going to let him know to let us know if they're okay and if they end up with any damage or anything else that we can pass along to you. So let me type that real quick. And then, like I said, we're going to keep on Facebook Live, but in about 30 seconds, we are going to go over to Channel 13 just to make sure that the folks that are watching the Olympic trials are updated as well. And from both of our velocity views, again, what we call a couplet, when we have the red and green close together, and it's easy to see that we definitely have that here. And from what we're hearing from the National Weather Service, also a report of a confirmed tornado. And good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Angela Buckman. I want to get you caught up on a severe storm that is moving across the southern sections of Carroll County. New information from the last time we chatted. This now is a confirmed tornado. There are reports of it on the ground. This developed in the southwestern sections of Carroll County. That's the latest I have for you from the National Weather Service, is a confirmed tornado. And from what we're seeing with our latest analysis with live Doppler 13 radar, if you've ever watched any of our severe weather coverage, we always look for the red and green close together. We call this a couplet. And in fact, we do have that approaching Carrollton, approaching Burlington, just south of Flora. So if you are in this area, please be in the safest part of your home, away from windows and doors. Lowest level, you need to put as many walls between you and the outside as you possibly can. Again, confirmation of a tornado in the southern sections of Carroll County. This tornado warning goes until 9 p.m. I am going to put a track on this before we get you back to the Olympic trials, and I'm going to include Flora. And I am going to track the leading edge of the rotation, which is on the western part of this storm. They are estimating this moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. It is just a minute or so away from Burlington. Carrollton, you have less than 5, and Deer Creek in 16 minutes. And if I had to take this out, I would say anywhere from Flora to Burlington to Deer Creek, even to Galveston. Even though Galveston, you're not under the warning, I want you to know we're going to be watching this storm closely. All indications are this is rotating, and from what we have heard from the National Weather Service, they are getting reports of a confirmed that this tornado was confirmed as it was developing in parts of Carroll County. So that's the latest. That's the new information that we have on this tornado warning. We're going to get you back to the Olympic trials. We've got another 7 minutes on this warning. And it looks like before I let you go, they've issued a new one. And by the way, our coverage will continue on Facebook Live. And they have issued the warning. The new warning is going to include the western sections of Howard County. So there might be a little bit of uncertainty on the exact track. Is this one going to continue to move northeast? Sometimes with these individual cells, they'll take a dive east-southeast. And so that's what I think the National Weather Service is concerned with. This storm developed all by itself in Tippecanoe County, where we started to get some reports of rotation with it. And now we just have to wait and see as it kind of chugs along and as it moves along, does it kind of take that right, what we call a right turn. So that's the reason they went ahead and issued an additional warning, an additional tornado warning, and that one's going to go until 9:30, and it is going to include the western sections of Howard County. It has been a while since we have, at least since I have seen a signature so clear on live Doppler 13 radar in terms of rotation, and what we're getting from the National Weather Service is that this is confirmed, and it was located 9 miles east of Delphi, 16 miles southwest of Logansport, moving northeast. And so there's the latest update. I just encourage you, please, if you live in Carrollton, Burlington, right now, you need to be in the safest part of your home. I'm going to give you an extra heads-up warning. Galveston, Deer Creek, even Kokomo, we're going to watch you over the next few minutes. We'll get back to Olympic trials, continuing coverage on Facebook Live, and I'll be back with another live update on Channel 13 as it warrants. All righty, Facebook Live. We got everybody, I think, on Channel 13 updated, and you as well. And I think what we saw with that update, the new warning that came out, and again, as I mentioned, I think there's just a little bit of concern that this one developed on its own. So it's not part of a line that we know is moving from west to east or northwest to southeast. So I have a feeling the National Weather Service is just a little concerned. Is this going to continue to track northeast, or is it going to take a right turn? And that's the reason they went ahead and issued an additional warning. Plus the fact this one is still showing clear signs of significant rotation approaching Burlington and Carrollton. So National Weather Service with the additional warning. They didn't say anything about getting any updates of the confirmation of the tornado. And sometimes with these storms, we get the tornado, it goes back up, still storm rotating, moves along, and then drops again. So we may be in that cycle with this cell. Again, fairly rural part of our area. I'm not sure that we have that many spotters in this area, but obviously if we do, and or emergency managers or other folks that are trained to spot severe weather we'll get the latest information to the National Weather Service. And we're going to be a little concerned. We're about 20 minutes or so away from sundown, and obviously these become more difficult to spot when we don't have daylight. But our real concern right now is Carrollton and Burlington. So if you live southern sections of Carroll County, western parts of Howard County, safest part of your home is going to be the lowest level away from windows and doors as we continue to track a storm with at least the potential for a tornado. That's the wording from the latest warning. However, some of the earlier information from this cell was that it was a confirmed tornado in the southern half of Carroll County. This one developed in Tippecanoe County, southeast of Lafayette, had a little rotation with it, and obviously has strengthened a fair amount. I am going to put a couple of storm tracks on this just so you can see where it's going. Not tracking the leading edge of the rain, but we're going to track where the best estimation for the rotation. So I'm going to go kind of the center of this storm, because if there is rotation with it, it is going to be in the western part of the cell. So I'm just going to take kind of the center, and I'm going to make it just a little bigger so we make sure that everyone is in this area that might be of concern knows where the storm is going to go next. And we're still estimating it at 25 miles per hour. That's a minute to Burlington. So it's basically on top of you, Burlington and Carrollton right now. Who's next? That's going to be Galveston and Kokomo if this storm holds together. While I have this on, I'm going to check Facebook Live. I appreciate you watching and hanging with us this evening. Let's see here. See if anybody is in the area of Carroll County. Okay, so Joy wants to know which way is it headed. Initial thinking, Joy, it was going northeast at 25. Now the thinking is it's a little more due east, and that explains kind of the two warnings. The one will expire at 9, and the other one was issued and will go until 9:30. I think the National Weather Service is thinking this one is moving a little more east than straight northeast. Gas City, okay, so let me come back out just a little bit. I'll remove the track for you. And again, most of central Indiana, you might be watching the Olympic trials and the fabulous Simone Biles and be thinking, well, it's fine at my house, and for sure it is fine for most homes in central Indiana, but we have an intense storm that developed kind of on its own about an hour ago, I'd say, in Tippecanoe County, and has continued to strengthen and continued to show signs of rotation. So I had a question about Gas City. So let's go into this area. So Gas City and Grant County. For now, Gas City, yes, you're in the clear. How does this storm hold together? That's going to be a concern. So obviously down the road a bit, Marion, Gas City, you might want to stick with us over the next hour or so to see how this storm holds together, if we get any additional storm development or any new information. Okay, so I've got Matt, who's west of Burlington. Nothing yet. Matt, if you're spotting that at your home, please be careful. Do it safely. Brenda loves storms. I do too. I'm not a huge fan of tornadoes, but that's me. Sabrina, sister-in-law in her basement in Deer Creek. She wants to know when she can come out. Deer Creek, I'd give it, even though it's south of Deer Creek, I'd give it another 20 minutes. So Sabrina, I'd tell your sister, maybe wait another 15, 20 minutes, just because the volatility of a cell on its own and where it decides to go, it's basically going to go where the atmosphere is favorable for it to continue to develop, path of least resistance. And that's going to be somewhere between Kokomo and Deer Creek. The rotation is south of you, Deer Creek, but I would stay in the basement for another 20 minutes or so. Oh, that's a good question, Alex. Who puts spotters in the affected areas of warnings? Spotters are volunteers. So the National Weather Service has something called the Spotter Network that they will activate. So if the network is activated, then anybody that is a volunteer and has communication with the National Weather Service, perhaps a ham radio operator, will then go out and safely spot storms. And we encourage you that if you don't know how to do that, please don't do that, and leave it to the folks that do know how to spot the storm so they can relay the pertinent information to the National Weather Service. So I don't know that the spotter network was activated on this one storm. If it was going to be a big outbreak, the network would be activated easy an hour or so in advance so spotters can get into safe places and spot the storms as they come in. But like I said, I watched this one develop out of nowhere in Tippecanoe County And it showed a little bit of rotation and then obviously continued to strengthen. So very good questions. Logansport, it's south of you. Indianapolis, Bonnie wants to know, nope, you're in the clear. Getting dark in Kokomo. No need to be scared, Melanie. We'll make sure that everyone stays safe. Nothing up there. Lauren is in Delphi. So Lauren, it developed just south of you. So southern parts of Carroll County is where we had the storm develop. Calm and quiet in Kokomo for now. Yes, Sue, but stick with me. I'm going to make sure that that it stays that way, or if it doesn't stay that way, that that you actually know what's coming. All right, Cecil from Kokomo. Got a new update from Kokomo now in the Facebook Live. Getting lots of thunder right now, and that storm is close, and you can see the lightning now approaching Kokomo. Had a question about Marion. Marion, and I mentioned you with Gas City. Just stick with me. We'll see how this storm holds together. It does appear it's tracking a little more due east than northeast. Let's see. Peru, it's going to stay south of you, at least the rotating part of this storm. Let's see here. Anderson. Nope, I think it's going to be north of you. Anderson. Roll of thunder. Was there a tornado in Florida? The confirmation of the tornado, let me get you the exact information from the National Weather Service, and actually while we're here, and National Weather Service is actually reaching out. If you ever hear us mention the chat, it's basically emergency managers, spotters, members of the media, where we can see the latest information from the National Weather Service on updates on storms, and what they're now looking for any storm damage reports from eastern Tippecanoe and southern Carroll County. So what they want to know is, was this on the ground? And the thinking is now that it was confirmed. While it was on the ground, did it do any damage? And of course, we're talking about a tornado. The one for Carroll County, the initial tornado warning was allowed to expire, by the way, at 9 o'clock. Okay, now to the confirmation. This came in at 10 till 9, and at 8:50, a confirmed tornado was located 9 miles east of Delphi, or 16 miles southwest of Logansport. And that was the confirmation from the National Weather Service. So they either got that from an emergency manager. It didn't say a public report, so I'm assuming it was a spotter or somebody that is trained to spot that passed that information that it was in fact a confirmed tornado. So the question was that near Flora? And from my estimation, and on radar, we can actually kind of measure this out. It was 7 miles to the southeast of Delphi, which puts it near Flora. So it appears that initial confirmation of a tornado was at least in the vicinity of Flora, or just south or southwest of there. So that's the latest from the chat as far as any new information coming in. Let's check. Okay, so Jennifer is saying she has tornado on video northwest of Rossville, and I'm going to come out a little bit. Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind either sending me that video, and Rossville, by the way, is going to be in this area. Jennifer, if you are still watching, thank you very much for watching and helping us out. If in fact you do have that video, if there was a way that you could send it to me, it's abuckman@WTHR.com. That would be great. I'd give you my phone number, but we're on Facebook Live, and then, you know, I might get a few other text messages. So best way, Jennifer, if you have that video, if you could get it to us, and we would appreciate that very much, because all of this information helps us verify when there are warnings, helps the National Weather Service verify when there are warnings, and then may give the National Weather Service kind of an area of where to go just to inspect for any damage. So Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind sending me that video, that would be great. And that's at abuckman, BUCHMAN, @WTHR.com. So thank you very much. Oh, Brenda wants Jennifer to show it. I don't even know how you upload a video to Facebook Live, but Jennifer, if you can, you could do that too. We would appreciate it. While we're on radar, I do want to check rotation just in case it still looks significant, because we are on Facebook Live. The Olympic trials are on Channel 13. We've been giving updates on Channel 13 as well, and I want to make sure that the folks that are just watching the trials actually know as well what is happening. And Nick, maybe, let's see what this warning goes until 9:30. Maybe in another 5 minutes or so, we do another quick update on Channel 13. Nick is so agreeable. He says absolutely. Just because it's still from our velocities, and what velocities do with live Doppler 13 radar is they measure raindrops in motion in particular. How are those raindrops moving in relation to the radar? Red is away from the radar, green is toward the radar, and when we get them close together, we know there's rotation. Does it always mean a tornado? No, but it is a sign that the storm is rotating and has that potential. And at least from what we're hearing from the National Weather Service, there was in fact a confirmed tornado that developed in the southwestern sections of Carroll County. And getting a new report out of Howard County. This is coming from, again, an emergency manager, 300 north, 1300 west, 2 trained spotters, a funnel cloud. So they are, I assume, western Howard County. And what's happening with this cell is it's coming out of Carroll, now entering Howard County. So let's go street level on this just to see if we can find where those spotters might be. I assume they're going to be in this area because, at least according to live Doppler 13 radar, this rotation, if there in fact is still a tornado, it's over Carrollton now, just to the south of Poplar Grove. If you are in western Howard County and you're familiar, Kappa Corner or Judson. So I'm not talking big city names here. These may just be, you know, small communities, small towns, but if you live in this area, you may know them. And so if we can do anything to help you place where this storm is in relation to where you are, that's the reason we kind of mention these small towns. So I would imagine those spotters are, let's go back to the Weather Service and see where exactly they were. Okay, and now we're getting spotter seeing debris from the first funnel. Actually, maybe seeing 2, and they're at 1300 west. So that's going to be western part. Let's see. And Nick, just let me know if you want to go before we go into commercial or we want to wait till the next commercial and then come back out. Perfect. Then let's do it. We're going to go ahead and go wall to wall just because I realize it's only one storm, but now that we've had confirmation and we're still showing signs of rotation, we've got spotters in the area and it is approaching the western parts of a new county. We want to make sure everyone's updated. So Nick, just count me in whenever you're ready. And while he waits to count me in, I'm going to look for that 1300 west. So that's going to be, okay, so that's like right on the county line. So if, so it's basic, yeah, it is. So if you kind of follow the numbers up on your county roads, it's going to be basically on the county line coming just east of Carrollton. And 15 seconds? Okay, I will be ready. Thanks for hanging with us, Facebook Live. Burlington, okay, Danielle, I have not heard, but we'll keep you updated. And good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Angela Buckman. We're going to keep the Olympic trials going on half of the screen, but I do want to make sure the folks that are under danger or in danger at this point in terms of severe weather are weather aware. And I realize it is just one storm. Most of central Indiana is clear, but we have had confirmation of a tornado that developed in the southwestern corner of Carroll County. I'm going to highlight where we think the initial report came in. And I started to watch this cell in Tippecanoe County, and actually, as we get some information from spotters, yes, it was rotating then as well, but it was in this area here in between Rossville and Delphi, so south of Delphi, north of Rossville, where this cell reportedly, at least confirmation now from the National Weather Service, did produce a tornado. Where is the storm now? It's moving east of Carrollton and east of Burlington. We're kind of simulcasting on Facebook Live as well, and I did have a question about Burlington. And Burlington, at least from our vantage point and the radar's vantage point, it appears that the strongest part of the rotating part of the storm was just north of you. And oh boy, you just don't like to see this. in terms of a radar image. So this is near Carrollton, just north of Carrollton, getting some new information that this is crossing the county line now from Carroll into Howard. So Wheeling, Young America, Poplar Grove, Kappa Corner, Judson. I know I might be mentioning places you've never heard of before, but when we see a radar signature like this, we're tracking a dangerous storm, again, with that potential for damage. And I am going to quickly, okay, so, and if you've been listening to any of the other, our Facebook Live, we were kind of going back and forth about what these storms do. And oftentimes a rotating storm will drop a tornado, that rotation or the tornado itself goes back up and then drops again and goes back up and can drop again. And that's what we're getting information from spotters now, emergency managers in western Howard County, of that going up and down. Spotter is actively filming. And this is still in the area of 300 north and 1300 west in Howard County, and that's going to be the western part of Howard County. So again, we just don't like to see a radar signature like this, because we know when it's this intense, you know, sometimes it's a little hard to see. We've got a little green, a little red, or it's kind of faint, but when the colors are brighter, that indicates more intense rotation, and it's in this area, Wheeling, Sharon, Carrollton, approaching Poplar Grove right now. I'm going to come out just a little bit so you can kind of get in relation to where else this might be going. So we have put you already on alert, Galveston and Kokomo, based on just how close you are to the storm itself and the fact that this one is still holding a significant rotation, at least according to radar right now, and for that matter, according to spotters, of a tornado kind of going up and down within this storm. We're with you live on Channel 13. We are with you live on Facebook Live. And let's see here. We've got someone on the Howard-Carroll County line saying it's still very still. I would just be careful. It's not a storm that you know you want to take lightly, and the fact that we are now approaching sunset in the next couple of minutes, it's going to be very, very difficult to see once the sun goes down. And if you are not a trained spotter, now is not the time to start with a storm that we know has already produced a tornado. This storm tracking off to the east at 25 miles per hour. Our latest tornado warning, we have another 15 minutes on it. And I am going to do a track on this cell that, and I'm going to track the leading edge of the rotation just because it kind of gives you a little more lead time. And I'm going to track a larger area. I'm going to track the entire warning area, realizing that the tornado itself is not this large, but when we're dealing with a storm, we want to make sure that everyone in the area is aware and knows where the storm may go. Fairly rural part of western Howard County, so that's good in a sense that it's not hitting a big city, but bad in a sense that, you know, we just obviously want to make sure that everyone that's in this area is weather aware. The storm itself pushing east of Carrollton, headed toward Galveston and Kokomo next. Let's put radar back on, and I'm going to remove that track. And what we'll do is I'm going to time out in kind of in a different way. Again, if it's rotating, that rotation is kind of the western part of the storm, and it's about 7-8 miles from Galveston and about 12.5 miles or so away from Kokomo. So that kind of gives you some vantage point. If it would continue to move due east, it's about 11 miles from 31. So if you're familiar with Highway 31 coming out of Tipton into Howard County up toward Peru, it's about 11 miles, at least the rotating part of the storm, about 11 miles away from US 31 in Howard County. Let's see, let's remove this. And I am going to check the chat. Okay, funnel has gone back up at this time. They were near State Road 18, west of 29. Did get a report. Okay, so this one came out of Howard County, now crossing 400 north. So the tornado is still growing in size, according to this spotter, being observed in western Howard County. And that was at 9:14, and then not but a minute or so later, the funnel had gone back up. So that's unfortunately what we're dealing with, and we just want to make sure that you continue to stay weather aware as we track a thunderstorm that has in fact produced a tornado. Southern sections of Carroll County, and at least what we're hearing now from spotters that are relaying that information to the National Weather Service in the western sections of Howard County as well. The rest of central Indiana is in the clear. We knew that the focus would start to shift north for these thunderstorms, and in fact that has been the case. This one developed kind of on its own in eastern Tippecanoe County, had just enough of an unstable atmosphere to work with, enough of an atmosphere to help that rotation get going, and this one in fact has produced a tornado, and it sounds like same cell but has produced a tornado several times out of the same storm. And nothing new from the National Weather Service. So let's go back to street level on live Doppler 13 radar, and what we're tracking is this storm here. And I did get on Facebook Live a report from somebody that was near Rossville that actually had some video of this tornado. Okay, and now the National Weather Service is thinking this is going to go more northeast. So this storm kind of wobbling a bit, and instead of moving now just due east on that northeasterly track. So that would take it north of you, Kokomo, more toward Galveston and more toward Walton. So this is the new tornado warning, and that one just coming down, and that one is going to go until 9:45. So National Weather Service new warning, new tornado warning until 9:45, and let's get the specifics on that warning. Again, it's going to go until 9:45. Let's see here if I get any new. There's the warning. And it's going to be southeastern Cass. So southeastern Cass County. So western Howard, you go until 9:30. Northeastern Cass County, or that's going to be southeastern Cass County, my apologies. So western Howard, southeastern Cass counties, and that southeastern Cass is going to go until 9:45. And again, radar indicated, but again, from what we know from spotters, this storm has in fact produced a tornado. Just north of Howard County along State Road 18. So let's go back to street level and show you the storm just a little closer and see if we can see exactly what the spotters are seeing. So it's basically going to be in this area on the Howard-Cass County line near Young America. Did they mention State Road 18? Let me go back to the chat real quick. Yes, so State Road 18. So you might not be able to see it, and I will circle that for you just because it's a little hard with all the streets that pop on. But it is State Road 18 is this area here. So this is where the spotters are at this point, and spotting a tornado kind of going up and down within this storm along State Road 18. And this is going to be Howard-Cass County line, give or take, and Young America. If you're familiar with that, and let's come back out a bit just because this is kind of tight, just to give you a little more vantage point of where we are. So if this, which we know it is still rotating, that rotation is right over Poplar Grove right now and would head into basically southwestern Cass and western parts of Howard County, kind of right along that county line. So I want to come out even more just because we want to make sure that you kind of have some perspective on where the storm is. So it developed eastern Tippecanoe, moved in between Delphi and Rossville, near Flora, over Carrollton. It's now tracking toward Galveston. So southern Cass, northern Howard counties, spotters on this storm, and now tracking it northeast across southern Cass County, and estimating now at about 20 miles per hour. So we will do another track on this. And again, not tracking the leading edge of the rain. You probably already have rain, plenty of lightning, but the leading edge of the rotation. And I'm just going to make it a little bigger and track this out 20, 25 miles per hour or so. It'll eventually be into Walton and Galveston. So you have, several minutes. Let's see how far the rotation is. So it's about 8 miles from Walton, about 9 miles or so away from Galveston. So you don't have a lot of time in these two cities to go ahead and get into the safest part of your home. That's going to be away from windows and doors, lowest level. Most important thing is to put as many walls between you and the outside that you possibly can. Now, I will tell you the rotation doesn't look quite as intense as what we were tracking, but let's give the radar just a second to go ahead and update. And while we're here, we have another product that we kind of monitor, and it gives us a look back on where the rotation was with this storm. And this actually is a great vantage point because I told you the cell kind of developed out of nowhere east of Lafayette. And if you look at that one green blip that is northwest of Dayton in eastern Tippecanoe County, this was when I kind of started to follow the storm. And you can see those blips get a little more intense south of Delphi. And what I'm pointing out here are these, basically this is a shear swath, and so it is detecting shear in the atmosphere, and it just makes it easier for us to show you where in fact this tornado might have tracked. So it developed here and then went on this track into southwestern Carroll County, and this is when we got reports that there was in fact a confirmed tornado. And then look at how intense the shear or rotation got right over Carrollton. I had some Facebook friends on our Facebook Live asking about Burlington, and right now it looks like it moved just north of Burlington, and it continues now more on a northeasterly track. But this is, at least according to our shear swath, the path of this storm that has in fact produced a tornado. And it'll be interesting to see. National Weather Service most likely will call this one, and it just is a tornado that goes up and down within a singular storm over a fair amount of real estate, I should say. Crossing 29 north of 18, 2 miles west of Young America. So that's where the spotters are now. Currently a funnel cloud crossing north junction of 18 and 29. So if you are familiar with the area, and let's get back to current conditions. So this, we think, was at least the path of this storm that produced the tornado. And maybe not necessarily several tornadoes, but produced a tornado several times out of one storm. And I do want to show you, we'll put it back to what you're used to seeing on radar. And then we'll go street level just because it's so helpful. And if you are ever interested, the National Weather Service does hold spotter classes in the spring before we get into severe weather. If you're ever interested, they offer a great resource. And as you can see tonight, a lot of our information coming from those spotters, because myself as a member of the media is here helping you. The folks at the National Weather Service are in their office, and so having eyes out there, a real help when we're tracking a storm like this that now we know has produced in fact a tornado. So we were talking about Young America, and that is, so the spotters are there, or were there, and are most likely following this, at least I hope, from a safe distance. But here's Young America, and remember we were talking about State Road 18 and where those spotters were. So that's where they are now. Let's go ahead and change this to the velocities of the rotation. And that actually is a piece of good news. And I think that's what the spotters are seeing now, that it in fact is a funnel cloud and not a tornado. Let's see, 923 confirmed tornado located 8 miles southwest of Walton. So that was just a couple of minutes ago. But again, it does sound, at least like from spotters, this is coming down and then going back up. From our vantage point on radar, it's not quite as intense in terms of the velocities. And velocities just measure basically direction, what direction the wind is blowing the raindrops, or what the raindrops are moving. Let's get this back to regular radar. And if you are, let me remove my really bad circle. If you are watching the Olympic trials and from your home and wondering why we have the split boxes, it's because we do have one storm that has, in fact, now at least a couple of times produced a tornado. And the National Weather Service will take damage assessments, take any damage reports, anything that you can get to us on social media or them on social media is obviously very helpful, and they'll eventually figure out, was this in fact one storm that produced a tornado several times, or were there in fact a couple of cells in this area? At least from our live Doppler 13 radar, it really looked like one cell that has done most of this in terms of producing tornadoes. We do have, I'm a little surprised that the warning has not expired there, but it will in the next couple of minutes. The one warning we have left is going to be for southern Cass, southwestern Cass County, southern Cass County until 9:45. Walton and Galveston. Walton was an area mentioned on the chat as well, as far as, okay, yes, just as far as making sure that you're in, it was southwest of you, and that was at 9:23. So again, we're tracking the same storm, and as it moves to the north and east, near 20 miles per hour, they've been clocking it somewhere between 20 and 25. I'm going to do the center of the rotation, so not the leading edge of the rain. I know it's already raining. I'm sure you've got plenty of lightning as well, but let's go out 20 miles. That puts it in Walton in 10 minutes. So you don't have much time. Anywhere from Galveston to Walton, you need to be in the safest part of your home on the lowest level, away from windows and doors. We've got a lot of folks on chiming in on Facebook Live. Let's see here. Okay, we're trying to make sure that we please everybody this evening. So we've got the Olympic trials on, we've got weather on the other side, and maybe Nick, if you want to reach out, and let me double check the chat real quick. The reason we came back on Channel 13 is there were numerous reports of confirmation of a tornado, and we can't leave folks, you know, not knowing what's going on in their backyard, especially when we're dealing with a storm as dangerous as this one appears to be. I'm going to remove the track. Tornado warning goes until 9:45. Nick, if you want to reach out, see if we want to do these last 15 minutes on Facebook Live and get people back to trials. Rotation isn't quite as intense, so just let me know what you find out, and we will move forward from there. But nothing additional from the chat other than, see, this one is coming in. Observe rotation. That's okay, Nick. I was just wondering if you wanted to reach out to those in charge. I don't have any new information. If we want to get back to the Olympic trials for another 10 minutes or so and then come back, just as this warning is set to expire, it appears the tornado has gone back up, no longer sees original. Okay, why don't we do that? So we're going to take a break on Channel 13 just to get folks that are interested in the trials. I realize this is just one storm, but again, we can't leave folks, you know, alone when there is a storm dangerous and that has, in fact, confirmed tornado. So we'll be back on Channel 13 in a minute. All righty, Facebook friends. Some of you friends tonight, some of you upset. I understand. It is one storm, but when we're tracking a storm, and that's why I asked to go back on Channel 13, when it is a storm that we have confirmation of a tornado, you wouldn't want me to not be on Channel 13 if it was headed toward your house. So that's the reason. And never nice to say shut up, but I'll move on. Let's see here. So this is the storm that we're tracking. It has prompted a tornado warning, goes until 9:45. There are several reports, and we've been lucky this evening to have emergency managers and trained spotters in this area. In fact, National Weather Service just giving a big thank you to the spotter up there in Howard County that has given the latest information on this storm, because again, National Weather Service in their office, I'm in my office, and the spotters really are the eyes to let us know what's happening on the ground. And this storm has a history of producing a tornado. It still has, at least from how radar looks, a little bit of rotation with it. It is approaching Galveston and Walton right now. If it would hold together, it's going to make its way toward Bunker Hill. So earlier in our conversation, Facebook friends, we were had questions about Gas City and Marion. Right now, looks like it's going to skirt just north of you, Gas City. Marion, still stay with us. Peru, stay with us. Right now, it's south of you. As it moves off to the east, we'll be, keeping a close eye on it. But for now, the tornado warning goes until 9:45, and it is moving northeast at about 20. That's kind of a wide view. I'm going to go even wider. And honestly, this is why, some folks are upset that we are interrupting gymnastics, because it is the only storm that we're tracking in the northern part of our viewing area. But again, it did produce a tornado. We are waiting for any information coming in from any potential damage or any potential pictures or any video. I had a Facebook friend that had video. Let's see here. And I'm going to check Twitter while we're here too, because oftentimes our very, very friendly people on Twitter, well, Susan, not so friendly, but that happens. Okay, so Brandon Reef has a photo, so I am going to comment to this just because if we can get it on the air, it might help you to understand why we were on. And I just need to get permission, so let me do that. We have to ask permission. Okay, so let me do that. And it is, so this was from Carroll County, and it was from, looks like it was sent from a sheriff deputy. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, yeah, and if you just want to make sure that we have the permission, it's a picture of the tornado. Okay, and I'm going to send that. That was Ashley in my ear, if you're wondering who I'm talking to. That was Ashley, our producer. So I'm going to send the picture to her and Wiz, our chief photographer, just so they know what I'm talking about. Looks like there's another one. Okay, so it looked to be, and I wish I could show you. I wish I could show you on my phone. But we're going to get these all turned around and have them for you on the news at 11. Just because, again, it's, I know it makes people angry. It's nothing new. So it's absolutely nothing new that people are angry that we interrupted. Okay, so those are the pictures. Let me send you one more, Ashley. I don't think I sent this one, and I asked for permission. And Facebook friends, if you want to say something nice, you can say something nice, or if you have any reports, I'd appreciate those too. If you just want me to stop talking, I'm fine with that, but maybe don't say it. Yeah. See, my mom always said, don't say anything unless you have something nice to say. We do have permission from Brandon, Ashley, to use from his brother. He was a sheriff. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, let me get back to Facebook Live. So many social medias. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. Nothing new on Facebook Live. So let's go back to radar. And I'm sorry if what you're seeing is kind of behind the scenes TV, just to make sure that we get the latest information to our producers. And if in fact we do get reports of damage, we would obviously send a news crew to that area. So we need to make sure that the producer and the chief photographer knows what we're talking about. So sorry you had to kind of listen along to that. But we are back on Facebook Live and showing you the storm that we have in between Walton and Galveston. The tornado warning still until 9:45. The only good thing that I saw the last time I looked at this was not a real clear-cut sign of intense rotation. So if you were with us, and actually I can back this up just to show you what we were looking at. I'm going to go a half hour and I'm going to put this into motion, and you can see If you look closely, right as it approached Carrollton was when it had the bright green and bright red next to each other. That's when we had the most intense rotation with this storm, and most likely on the ground at that point. And then it has lost a little bit of that. So that is definitely some good news as this moves in between Walton and Galveston. What you're watching here, what you're seeing, is a loop of the velocities, how raindrops move in relation to the radar, and it gives us an idea if there's rotation in a storm. Doesn't always necessarily mean that there's a tornado, but in this case, several reports that yes, in fact, there was. Let's go back to the chat. Okay, National Weather Service is expiring Carroll and Howard County, so that other tornado warning. The spotters relaying information to the emergency manager, still a funnel cloud, believes maybe sees some light debris. But again, that is just from a spotter, so nothing. And again, from what I'm seeing on live Doppler 13 radar, this has weakened somewhat, and that is good news as it heads in between Walton and Galveston and eventually toward Bunker Hill. So I am going to do a track on this just to show you where this is going to go next. So we have, if it's still rotating, the rotation is now approaching Lincoln and approaching the area between Walton and Galveston. This is going to be right along Highway 35. So if you're familiar with this area, southern sections of Cass County and then far northern parts of Howard County, it's this area here, and it's tracking off to the northeast. So a couple of the other small areas in the path, Bennett's Switch, and then not so small, Miami and Bunker Hill. So a couple of the bigger towns in advance of this storm. I am going to put a track on this to show you where it's going to go, and tracking where the leading edge of the rotation is. And we think it's between Walton and Galveston right now, somewhere between 20 and 25 miles per hour off to the northeast. It's overhead Walton now, if it's still in fact producing a tornado, and it's about 17 minutes away from Bunker Hill. The tornado warning goes until 9:45 at this point, does not include Bunker Hill, so we will be waiting to see what the National Weather Service decides to do with the storm itself as far as any new information from spotters. Is this in fact still producing a tornado? Do we just issue a severe thunderstorm warning on it? Has there been any damage? So lots going on behind the scenes, obviously, with the National Weather Service and figuring out, did this in fact produce a tornado? So this is a bigger view, and this area did go under a severe thunderstorm watch earlier this evening, and this particular storm developed in Tippecanoe County and then tracked northeast across southern Carroll into western Howard and now across southern Cass. If it holds together, the next warning would come from Miami County. So for those of you watching in Peru, just need to stay with us and make sure that you're weather aware. Everything that I'm seeing from radar indicates that this one has weakened somewhat, which is great news. The warning technically goes until 9:45. And in terms of velocities, again, not nearly as strong as it was, but what we can show you, and back up just a little bit, is the potential path of this storm that, again, produced a tornado, developed near Dayton in eastern Tippecanoe County, and then our first reports of a confirmed tornado came out of southwestern Cass County, just to the south of Flora. And then the rotation fairly intense as we tracked it into Carrollton, and it has weakened. So that is some great news at this point as we continue to track a storm. And really, it is our only storm locally. However, let's expand the view. There are, within this line that extends out to the west into parts of Illinois, there are additional warnings, a tornado warning, a severe thunderstorm warning. Those are just south of Bloomington, Illinois, not Bloomington, Indiana. Let's change the radar and our view and come out, and you can clearly see what is coming our way overnight. A long line of intense storms. And while we're on this, let's go ahead and put this into motion over the last hour or so. The area that we were targeting for heavy rain, basically the northern third of the state, give or take, and it appears that this line, this kind of funnel of heavy rain, is going to in fact track in that direction over the next several hours. Some of these individual storms could quickly produce an inch, 2 or 3 of rain, but if we get in this kind of line of very heavy rain, we could be talking totals 3, 4, 5 inches. So we're going to be concerned not only with severe storms, but the threat for some flash flooding as well, all because of this line really of tropical moisture at this point. If you were out today, didn't have a lot of sunshine. We were kind of in and out of some showers and some spotty storms. But it was very muggy, so it's not going to take a lot for us to get a lot of rain out of some of these thunderstorms. Let's see here. We are getting some pictures, so thank you very much for taking the time to send us pictures. Let's see if I have anybody on Facebook Live that was in the area. We had mentioned a couple small towns, and I thought I saw Young America mentioned, but okay, I didn't. So let's go back to our local view and get you caught up on the warning. If this one is still looks to be producing a tornado, I'm going to give you a closer view of this storm and really losing some of its strength. It may, now that we're starting to see some higher returns, and by higher returns I mean the area in purple, that may indicate some hail on the east side of the rotating part of the storm, so we can't rule that out completely. The tornado warning set to expire at 9:45, and I have a feeling the National Weather Service is going to let that one go because the storm itself is now coming out of the area. Let's see, they're going to continue the severe thunderstorm watch. That's new information. Any specific reports, so the National Weather Service, again, what I'm looking at and trying to relay to you is information going back and forth between emergency managers, spotters, the National Weather Service, and members of the media. And National Weather Service very, very thankful for all of the reports from the spotters that we got out of western Howard County as this storm crossed the county line. Organized rotation has dissipated. That's new information. And honestly, that's what we were just talking about, that on our end, on our live Doppler 13 radar, didn't look nearly as intense. So that organized rotation from the spotters also seeing it actually with their eyes dissipate, which is good news. Thank you for they were just thanking Justin, whoever Justin is, commenting and reporting for the reports. Any specific damage reports would be great as well. So obviously the National Weather Service looks and will take reports of damage from the public, from emergency managers, spotters, anywhere, anyone that can help with information on this. But again, I wouldn't be surprised to have the National Weather Service go ahead and drop this warning or let it expire at 9:45. And if they do, we're going to take a break on Facebook Live. We usually do Facebook Live at 10. And we'll, of course, still do that, but we have probably a couple things to record in the studio before that. Good news here. If you're in between Walton and Galveston, the organized rotation from spotters relaying information to the National Weather Service and from what we're seeing on live Doppler 13 radar has dissipated. The storm itself will continue to track northeast. It may contain some hail, may contain some damaging winds, and this one right now is headed toward Bunker Hill. For now at Peru, I think it stays just south of you. It's basically going to go to Bunker Hill and then in between Peru and Amboy. And just as I say that, they went ahead and issued a new tornado warning. So obviously they're seeing something or concerned enough that they're going to keep adding to the warning. So let's go. And it is going to be for this area for Walton. So it's going to be, so the warning will be allowed to expire at 9:45. They're just a little concerned with this area here. And I'm going to highlight it for you. So they're going to be concerned with this area here. So the far western part of the storm for continued rotation. National Weather Service, at least from what they're hearing from spotters, not quite as organized, but obviously the storm has a history of producing a tornado, and this warning will go until 10:15. And let's go ahead and check velocities. It's still showing what I would characterize as weak rotation, not nearly as strong as what we were seeing earlier, but it is in that area near Walton, and it is tracking off to the north and east, and so the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued the warning. Let's see here. I guess we do have some video into the desk too, so we've got a producer kind of helping out as well. And let's see here. Oh, great. So, yes, as you were hearing me talk to somebody that you can't hear me talk to, we were trying to get these pictures kind of to you. And this is, let me go back to Twitter. we had a couple of great pictures sent to us. One was from brother is a police officer in the area. And let's see here, if I can go back and find this picture. Okay, so that one came from Brandon Reef. Thank you, Nick. This one came from Brandon Reef, and this was in Carroll County, and his brother sent it to him. He is a sheriff's deputy, so obviously trained to spot severe weather. And we had one other one. I guess those were both from Brandon. We had one from Bryce Delph. I'm not sure if we capture that one as well. But this was the reason that we were on and interrupted, at least briefly at times, the Olympic trials, the gymnastics that have been ongoing this evening. By the way, another night of gymnastics. Men are on 4 to 6 tomorrow in the afternoon. The women's final, by the way, will be on Sunday evening. In case I interrupted too much, there will be more for you headed your way this weekend. What you're looking at are pictures from Carroll County from spotters, trained people to see severe weather. And really at this point, looking at this picture, you don't even need to be trained to see that this in fact was a storm that produced a tornado. And what we're thinking is this storm produced a tornado. The tornado went up, came back down, went up, came back down, and maybe did that several times in its cycle as it moved from eastern Tippecanoe County across southern Carroll into western Howard and now across the southern sections of Cass County. We still have a tornado warning. This is new information, 10:15 for parts of Cass County. Let me get the specifics for you on the warning itself. Okay, and again, National Weather Service still saying losing rotation, didn't find any damage to report. So that's good news. That's new information coming from the spotter that was in the area. Let's see here. I'm just going to get you the latest information on the exact warning. Okay, so this is going to be, again, southeastern Cass. So same vicinity that we've been tracking, just a little farther north, but still south of Logansport. If this cell is still producing severe weather, it's right over 24 right now and near Walton. Headed northeast in between Bunker Hill and Peru at this point. And this tornado warning coming out of our Weather Service office in the northern part of the state. And they were tracking it northeast a little slower at about 15 miles per hour. So that's the latest on the radar and the warning, the new warning that goes until 10:15. And again, still kind of circling where there is in fact at least the potential that this one still could produce a tornado. And it is going to be now east of Walton, approaching 31 near Bunker Hill. So we encourage you to be in the safest part of your home, and that's going to be away from windows and doors. Let's see here. Again, producer Jennifer helping out. Off the phone with Howard County EMA, no reports of damage so far. I have a feeling if we're going to get any damage reports, they're going to come out of Carroll County, maybe near, was it Burlington? Let's go back to Carroll County just a little bit. Just because if we can, if Jennifer, you're watching, Carrollton, I'm sorry. So if we get any damage reports, I have a feeling they're going to come out of the area south of Flora or near Carrollton. That was when at least I saw some of the strongest rotation with live Doppler 13 radar. So it's going to be more Carroll County. So if there was any way we could check with Carroll County just to see if in fact there were any damage reports. It's going to be difficult to see, honestly, right now. Now that the sun is down, it's 9:49 on a Friday night. It's going to be a little difficult to tell if anything was damaged. But if you're in this area, you live in this area, anything that you can pass along to your county, to the sheriff's department, to an emergency manager, or members of the media, we appreciate all the help that we can get because it verifies what we're tracking. And obviously, if there is damage, we would want to make sure that the National Weather Service knows that so they can get out and survey the damage. It just helps with verification, honestly, of all the warnings. Let me check Twitter real quick, see if anybody is chiming in. Let's see here. Yes, I agree. So a lot of people kind of chiming in on the fact that the tornado looked to be fairly wide, and If it in fact did leave behind some damage, that's one thing the National Weather Service will estimate. How long was it on the ground? How large was it? What kind of damage did it do? Where will it rank on the enhanced Fujita scale? But we did get a couple of viewer pictures of a warned storm that in fact did produce a tornado. What we now know, at least a couple of times within the thunderstorm cycle. While we're showing you a couple pictures and we still have the radar up, I'm going to check the chat too, just to be sure that we're not getting anything new. And I'm going to check the one out of northern Indiana, because they're the latest one to do the new. Okay, so let's see here. New information. Okay, so now and what's interesting, okay, so the National Weather Service has offices, right? They also have individual chats. So in the chat room, we can be on with the Indy website and the Indy office. We can also keep track of the northern office, because some of our counties are covered by the office out of the northern part of the state. Okay, so they're just confirming that the tornado warning was issued based on a rotating wall cloud, pictures of funnels from 2 spotters in the area. So they went ahead with the tornado warning. I have a feeling this is going to be allowed to expire before we get to 10:15, honestly, because what we're seeing with live Doppler 13 radar isn't nearly as intense as it was. Still may have some wind with it, still may rotate, yes, still may have some hail potentially, but it's nothing like what it was when we were tracking it a little earlier. So that is definitely some good news. And the worst of the storm is now out of Walton and honestly near Bunker Hill. May have a little bit of hail with this. We have some higher returns approaching 31. So we're in the southern sections of Miami County. And then if we still have the potential for a tornado, it's going to be just to the northwest of Bunker Hill. And this is going to slide in between Peru and Bunker Hill as it moves northeast. Let's put a time lapse or loop on this so you can see the movement for yourself. And let's put this into play. Okay. So you can see the storm, and yes, you can see it weaken, and yes, it looks like National Weather Service just dropped that warning. So out of northern Indiana, they issued it based on the spotters, pictures they saw, and obviously they wanted to make sure this one lost its rotation completely before they let this one go. We want to make sure we warned everybody ahead of the storm. Let's pause this and come out really quick. We are not, by the way, going to do our traditional 10 o'clock Facebook Live, so sorry about that. I think I took all the time. But I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you chiming in. Obviously, understand it's very difficult when we're tracking one storm impacting a small area, but we're responsible for a large area, and it does include all of central Indiana, whether you live in Bloomington, Richmond, Fishers, or you live near Kokomo or southern Carroll County, where in fact we had tornadoes this evening. So now that that has expired, I'm going to let you go. We're going to continue to gather information. Again, appreciate all the comments, good, bad, and we will kind of regroup. We'll let you know if anything else happens. Otherwise, we will have a full report for you coming up at 11.